Hello everyone, and welcome to today's special KETIV Autodesk Virtual Academy. I'm Nigel Umbayek, your host for today and all days. This week, we're going to be going over what's new in Autodesk Inventor 2019, and we got special guest, and I guess guest for all of the what's news for Inventor, Product Manager at Autodesk, Loren Welch. How's it going, Loren?
It's going well, Nigel. Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for being here. Let's get going, and we'll see you on the other side.
All right, thank you. So thanks, Nigel, and thanks everybody for joining today's Autodesk Virtual Academy, talking about what's new in Autodesk Inventor 2019. So as Nigel had mentioned, if you have any questions or comments as I'm going through the content, by all means, please type them into the question panel with GoToWebinar. Also on the webinar is Chris Hall. He's another product manager on the Inventor team here at Autodesk. So we'll definitely make sure we're getting those questions answered either throughout the webinar or, of course, with Q&A time at the end. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive in. So to start with, when we talk about Inventor 2019, we're going to talk about just kind of overall what we did with 2019 and the areas that we focused on from an investment perspective. So we really wanted to focus on three main areas: professional grade functionality, that's that core design tools and workflows that our users use every day. We're also talking about connected workflows and how Inventor can connect to the Autodesk Cloud platform and really bring value to our customers beyond the desktop. And then overall, we'll talk about this Inventor experience, whether that's feedback directly from customers through the ideas page or customer engagement, or just how we're refreshing commands and enhancing things inside of Inventor to have really just a delightful experience as you guys are using the tool. And then we'll obviously talk about how to get the update and handle any Q&A. Before we really get started, one of the things I like to talk about is just how we've changed our delivery with Inventor. And I have Inventor and Vault icons on here as well, just because you might not be aware that Vault and Inventor are part of the same development team here at Autodesk. And so we've got a lot of cohesion, not only in the functionality as you'd expect, but also in how we deliver updates. So if you look at the last 24 months here on the product teams, we've been able to do a lot of really nice things as far as continually providing updates and value to our customers. But what it really means is we've been able to deliver 10 releases of Inventor in the last 24 months. So if you've been a long-time Inventor customer, that's almost crazy talk, right? But we've been able to deliver updates about every 12 weeks, including major updates as well as these dot updates to give users additional functionality throughout the release cycle of the product. And what that really means for you as customers is that you've seen over 225 enhancements to the product in 24 months. And so every update, whether it's an incremental dot update or it's a full annual release, we're continually providing enhancements based on user feedback and market needs. And so that's what's really important to keep in mind is we're not just doing updates for the sake of updates. These updates are really about giving customers new functionality and enhancements throughout the life cycle of the product. So let's take a look at what that means for Inventor 2019. So as you've seen before, we kind of have nice themes and kind of guide points of what we're really looking to deliver when we deliver products. And these are kind of the things that we looked at when we looked at enhancements and feedback and what we wanted to do with Inventor 2019. And it's really about providing the best-in-class solution for today's design and engineering professionals. We understand that you guys wear a lot of hats, that you're asked to do a lot of different things. And we want to be able to provide a single tool for you to be able to do all of that with Inventor as your design and engineering solution. So again, we talked about those areas of investment, and we really want to help our customers really design great products. And so we really focused on professional grade design and engineering functionality, cloud connected workflows, and the Inventor experience, and really find ways to benefit all of our customers with Inventor 2019. When we talk about professional grade, we're really talking about improvements in design, automation, performance, all of the core things that customers need to stay ahead and deliver and design great products on time and into market. So performance has been a large ongoing project for us here on the Inventor team. And we know it's important, and we're always looking for ways to improve Inventor performance. And if you've been around, or if you've used Inventor 2017 and 18, you saw significant performance improvements, and we've continued to focus in assembly and large assembly drawing workflows. So, in-place editing, assembly updates, different representations, creating and editing assembly features, assembly pattern selection, and especially things like assembly section views, those 3D section views, have been dramatically increased from a performance standpoint. In drawings, we've done a lot of focus around view creation, view updates, and overall drawing navigation. So with Inventor 2019, customers are seeing up to 7 times faster in 3D sectioning in their assemblies, a 35% reduction in compute time, and rebuild times up to 80% faster than they've seen with prior releases of Inventor. So it's an area that we know is a continual focus for us here on the Inventor team, and we'll continue to, the more we make Inventor more performant, we know the bigger, more challenging models you guys are going to throw at it, and that's great. And so we want to continue pushing the capacity of the designs that we can handle inside of Inventor. As part of that, we've also updated our help content as it relates to large assembly design and best practices. So one of the things that's really, really nice here is we've updated the best practices document as well as the large assembly modeling workflows, white papers, inside of the help content. So if you're inside of the Inventor help online, you'll have access to these white papers, and you'll be able to download them and just make sure you're using the recommended practices with the enhancements we've made with the product over the years. Another thing that we really talk about, and if you're familiar with the ideas page and you're familiar with the community forums, we've also released a statement on our multi-core workflows. So one of the things that's really important is, if you just take a look at, moving to multiple threads is really great for some operations, especially things that are really compute intensive tasks. But for others, there's really more meaningful ways as a software that we can provide different strategies to improve performance. So we've really looked at a holistic approach to performance, and we take a look at many techniques, whether it's multi-core related, or some of them are just are more code related, right? So we've worked with many customers, and we've really prioritized the biggest needs, and we've sharpened our focus on the important areas. And so if we get a lot of questions, a lot about multi-core support, and there's a lot of, I guess, misunderstanding or misinformation about what we do or don't do in Inventor. So we've started to leverage, or we've been leveraging rather, multi-core for a lot of things. And I can kind of rattle through some of them, but zoom, pan, rotate, ray tracing, mesh generation, import of non-Inventor data, geometry modeling commands around freeform, mass property calculations, anything that's around feature recognition and removal, simplification workflows. We've also do a lot of things that maybe are not necessarily multi-core. So we've implemented incremental rendering for 2D and 3D graphics navigation. We do incremental drawing view updates. So a lot of these things are really dramatically improving performance. So if you've followed or asked questions around multi-core, definitely look for that official statement we have out on the ideas page. But it's just important to understand, that we're looking at an overall approach, not just dumping everything into one technique or best practice. And I think another good example of that is, as we look at performance, we know one of the things we noticed was like with Content Center. If people are adding a lot of Content Center content in their design, we wanted to continually make that experience better, faster, definitely more performant. So we actually started doing in-memory caching with Content Center files. So it reduced your time waiting for that hosted content to display. So we cache all that content during the session. When you close down that session of Inventor, we clear the cache out. So what it really gives you is, as you're using Content Center over and over inside of a session, you'll definitely have a much improved performance. So I've talked a lot about things. Let's go ahead and take a look at some performance improvements. So obviously large assemblies are a good focus of what we've done here. And when we talk about large assemblies, anything we do here is going to improve everything down to the part level. So from a navigation perspective, we've leveraged things like incremental graphics. Being able to do in-place editing and selection has been, again, greatly improved in 2019. Probably one of the biggest areas we've seen is this idea of the 3D sectioning. We've done a bunch of performance improvements, and then when people got to sectioning, it got to be quite a bear again. And so now we've continued that focus on the 3D sectioning to maintain the interaction performance that we had seen with the other enhancements. The next area we'll really focus on is how to get that to the drawing, right? So inside of Inventor 2019, the drawing creation, not only the view creation, but also the view updates has been greatly enhanced. So you can see here with the previews how much faster and more performant you get from a drawing creation perspective. One of the things that's been really nice is we do this incremental drawing update. And what that's really talking about is here you can see we update a constraint and it moves a component. Traditionally, we'd have to regenerate all of the views, all the geometry in the views. Now we only have to update just the geometry that moved, okay? So some good overview of our performance enhancements. Another area of investment is really around automation with iLogic. So iLogic is the automation engine that's built into Inventor. And right now we're seeing almost 20% of Inventor users are leveraging iLogic in their designs, whether they're creating their own rules or they're consuming them with external rules and triggers. So we've invested in multiple ways with iLogic. So we wanted to lower the bar to entry to iLogic to make it more accessible to maybe more non-programmer type of customers. But we also want to improve the top-end functionality to make iLogic much more powerful for customers that are really trying to leverage iLogic in significant ways in their designs. So one of the things we've done is we've added a bunch of code snippets around this new functionality to help people get used to it. So traditionally, you've been able to, when you configure a large model, you're hiding or showing or suppressing or unsuppressing a very large model. Well, now with iLogic, you have the ability to actually add and delete parts, assemblies, and constraints, which means the capacity for automation becomes much larger if you can remove unused components out of the browser, out of the Inventor session altogether. To help people get into writing their own rules and leveraging iLogic, we've added, 2018 towards with the .2 release, we added things like autocomplete and syntax coloring. We've continued that ease of use with capture current model state. So it allows you to capture the current state of the model and begin writing rules against that. You can also assign geometry names to faces, edges, or vertices to allow it much easier to write rules that really control and position that geometry. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the iLogic functionality in action as well. So here what you'll see with iLogic is we have this nice conveyor. And if you're just looking at the parameters inside of Inventor, you can see I've got this true false for shoot existence. And what you'll notice in the browser is iLogic is actually deleting and adding not only that shoot, but all of the constraints that position it out of the browser and out of active memory. So what that means is as you're writing these rules, and right here is a simple if-then statement, if we're saying true, then not only is it adding the component, but it's adding the constraints. And it's adding the constraints based on specific geometry we've defined. We have all these snippets built into the 2019 iLogic rule editor, and it really allows users to create much more powerful and much more powerful rules and how they control their model. And we do it in a way that makes it much easier for users to manage. So here's another example where we're just looking at the parameters that are controlled by iLogic, and we're kind of setting up, how this particular assembly, this pilot brewing system is really set up. And let's take a look at the casters in this insert constraint. Now, if we're gonna have an option to have, the casters on or off, well, if the option is to have them on, well, we have to position them. And here you can see with a right click on a face or an edge, I can now assign geometry names. So here we can call this the mate face. And what that means is when you're writing a rule, specifically with a constraint or how to position a component, now it's much, much easier to define that. So here you'll see we're adding a constraint, and we actually define it to that face edge or that caster edge that we named from a geometry perspective. Another area that we continue to develop is around model-based definition and 3D annotations. So with 2018, we released model-based definition for parts and assemblies. And now what we're seeing is that we're able to take and continue to develop or build out these workflows of model-based definition, 3D annotations, really help users that are getting into this paperless workflow and this world of PMI and model-based definition. And we've added this nice face coloring as part of the tolerance. So as you're adding your model-based definition, it can actually guide you with face status coloring to let you know what's underdefined, overdefined, you know, fully constrained, and really help the users make sure they're doing the proper 3D annotations and model-based definitions within these models. So let's move into a different area of Inventor 2019, and this is area of cloud connected. So Inventor 2019 connects to the Autodesk Cloud in ways that allow users to collaborate, design, and communicate in new and powerful ways. So our goal is to be able to take and find ways to connect to the Autodesk Cloud Platform in ways to give customers real benefit. You know, we want to make sure that they're able to leverage their designs beyond the desktop with simple, secure, and powerful workflows. And that's really the goal of our connected initiatives. So one great example is these shared views. And I know we've worked with many of you across the globe throughout this process. And at AU, we had roundtables. And what we found is historically Inventor had Inventor Connected Design, or these design shares, where you were able to publish a graphic file to the A360 drive. You had some functionality, but if you're an AutoCAD user, you were using Simple Share. If you were a Revit user, you were using C4R or something different. And so what we wanted to do is have a single component across all Autodesk products that gave users the same experience. So I can proudly say that the Inventor, the AutoCAD, Alias, the Max, the Delcam teams, we all worked together and we built a single component across all of our product lines. And what this means is you are able to curate and share a viewable of your design data to the Autodesk viewer. We give you a unique URL that you can share with people, and by default it expires after 30 days. You can extend that, but it allows people that you share it with, whether they're on a mobile device, a browser, they do not need any Autodesk tools, they just need access to a browser and that unique URL, and they can view, comment, and markup in the Autodesk viewer. And the great thing is that activity or that feedback from your other stakeholders is fed right back into your design tool, whether it's Inventor or AutoCAD or Vault or what have you. So let's go ahead and take a look at what this is. And I've shown some videos. We're gonna step a little bit more dangerously, and let's show this live. So I'm gonna hop into Inventor, and the biggest thing we talk about with shared views is this idea of how you can share exactly what you want. We're taking a look at what's inside of the canvas, if you will. So here I've got this design. So if I'm taking advantage of design views or levels of detail, or even simply right-clicking and suppressing or hiding a component, I can take just what is in my screen area, and that's all I want to share. So I'm going to go to this Collaborate tab in Inventor 2019, and I'm going to click the Shared Views button. So what this does is I'm going to go ahead and create a new shared view. It gives me the ability to name it. So I'll just name it the KETIV AVA. And here I have some options for additional security. So I can hide component names, I can hide part properties. If you don't want people to have access to even that data, you can turn that off. And when I hit share, what's happening is it's actually taking a look at my CAD geometry, and it's converting it to a graphic file. So there's no CAD geometry that's being passed up to the cloud. So what you'll see here is on the bottom right, I can continue designing and working as it's processing this design share. So again, this is a decent size assembly, and so it's going to go ahead and process this, and when it's done, it's going to give me a few options. So one is I can view it in the browser, or I can also copy the link. So I'm going to copy the link, and I'm actually going to send that over to Nigel. But I'm also going to go ahead and open it in the browser while I've got it here. So I open it in the browser, and you'll see it's just the Autodesk viewer. And here I've got this KETIV AVA file that I published. Now what's nice here is, like I said, I shared that with Nigel. I can actually choose when I share this to disable the ability to section, explode, turn off the model browser, and also turn off a measure. But I'm going to leave all those things on. And here you'll see it's a unique URL. So it's not like I can just go to the Autodesk viewer and do a search for KETIV AVA and I'd find it. You need access to this specific URL. So once this is in here, and you share this with people, they have the ability to come in here with comments, and you see Nigel actually made one. And again, he could have done this on his iPad, on his phone, anything with a browser, and now he has access to all this markup. So it's great that I can see it inside of the viewer session. That's awesome, right? But as a designer, what's more important to me is I'm an inventor, and I simply hit refresh. And as I'm designing or doing work here, you can see here's that comment that Nigel posted for me. So as I'm designing, I get that feedback directly inside of Inventor. I can select this feedback and it'll take me to the browser, right to that same thing we shown. If I stay inside of Inventor, I can mark it as resolved. I can actually reply to this and, you know, post that back to my collaborative session inside of my shared view. I also have some management capabilities. When I talk about management capabilities, what I mean is I can come in here and on this particular one, if I click this, I can view that in the browser. I can copy the link and share it with somebody else. I can extend beyond the 30 days of how long the share is available, or I can simply delete it. So you've got some nice things to do here as you're interacting with the shared view, okay? So hopefully that's something that you guys will find value in. And again, it's across the product lines. It's not just Inventor. It's Inventor, AutoCAD Vault, Max, all the Delcam products, InfraWorks, etc. So it's really nice to see that ability to collaborate with stakeholders in a very simple and direct way across all Autodesk products. Another cloud-connected entitlement that subscribers are getting is Autodesk Drive. So unlike things like Google Drive or Dropbox or what have you, this is Autodesk hosted and it's CAD aware. And what that means is if I were to drop a DWG file with XREFs in this, it would say, hey, those have XREFs, and it would grab them. And it gives you the ability to access your Autodesk Cloud storage as if it were a network drive on your computer. So when I'm going through Windows Explorer, I'm doing through standard save as dialogues, my Autodesk Cloud storage appears as a standard network drive. And so I have access to that data as long as I'm connected. So it's not syncing, I'm actually working live off my cloud data for my desktop product. And then one of the things we unveiled at Autodesk University last November was the AnyCAD integration between Autodesk Inventor and Autodesk Fusion 360. So this is still continuing as a technology preview in Inventor 2019, and we're continuing to add functionality both on the Fusion side and on the Inventor side. And what this really enables is the ability for both Fusion 360 users and Inventor users to work on a common design with AnyCAD workflows and get live updates from bidirectionally throughout the design process. So if you were working with maybe a manufacturing or design shop that's using Fusion 360, you can now send them your native Inventor design or put it on Fusion Team, and they can access it for machining purposes, and vice versa. You can accept a .fusion design file and bring that into your Inventor design without having to worry about any changes being lost as concept design work is changed and that's being consumed in Inventor. The last kind of big bucket area we'll talk about is this idea of the Inventor experience. And we talk about this a lot, but we launched the Ideas Forum a few years ago, and it really allows customers to enter their requirements and enhancements and things that they want to see inside of the product and have the rest of the community vote on it. Not only that, but you also get the ability to interact directly with the Inventor product development organization. Our software architects, our developers, our product managers, we're on the ideas page constantly, and we're constantly asking customers more details around what they're asking for, why, what value it brings them, and just really getting a good understanding of the value of what we can continue putting in the product. So everything from sketching to part modeling, tube and pipe, frame generator, every part of Inventor is being worked on and tweaked throughout the year based on user feedback. So that's one of the big areas that we continue to push with customers. And just for reference, with Inventor 2019, there's over 25 additional customer ideas that were developed and implemented inside of the product. Okay. So one areas we'll talk about, you saw with 2018, we did some enhancements to the whole command. There was, some of the different things as far as end conditions, how different hole creation and these different fragment edges could be handled. Well, what we've done with 2019 is we've completely refreshed the whole command. If you remember 2018, we refreshed the measure command, the browser, and the whole command's following that same panel UX concept. So what it really allows users to do is have this active panel with all the commands or all the functionality of the command within it. And we allow for the ability to do presets. And it's one of the biggest feedback we got from customers is they have standard holes that they use in their organization all the time. And they want to be able to predefine or have presets for what those whole options would be, so they can just pick them from a drop-down list. And presets you'll start seeing throughout a variety of Inventor commands based on the technology we put in place with the whole command. So the whole command now is faster and smarter. It infers hole placement from your interactions. You don't have to create a sketch first and then go into the whole command. You just hop into the whole command and you have access to any underlying sketch that it creates or that you have predefined. You can also apply dimensions, concentric constraints, all without creating that sketch. And you can switch between the feature editing and the sketch editing without ever leaving the command, okay? So a great way to really show that is to just show it. So the whole command here, you'll see we go into the whole command without any predefined sketches. And as we place these holes, we have one better graphic preview, but you'll notice the interaction with the panel becomes much more straightforward for the users. So again, one of the things you'll see here is we're actually defining some dimensions and locations. We can actually go between the actual feature command and the actual sketch environment. So now I'm in the controlling sketch. So if I have to add constraints or any other alignment, I can do that. So without having to exit the command, I can go between sketch and feature and help define my hole locations much more quickly and easily than ever before. Here you'll see we'll just add a few final holes for some of these rails. And again, I think it's pretty self-evident just what this experience, again, it looks and feels much more like we've done when we refreshed other commands, and you'll continue seeing this in the future as we refresh existing commands and add new functionality. Some more enhancements. So nearly 40% of Inventor customers use sheet metal every day. So we've continued to look at sheet metal and ways we can enhance it. These are from big things that we've done with multi-body and multi-body rules and different thicknesses to different manufacturing requests. In this case, we've done some things around laser weld relief shapes, face and corner treatment enhancements, all things that customers have been asking for to really match up with their manufacturing and fabrication processes. Another area that we get a lot of feedback on are the specialized environments like tube and pipe and frame generator. So keep your eye on these areas because, again, we have a lot of customers using these areas of functionality, and they're areas we're going to continue to look at investing in. And one of the highlights here for 2019 are things like lock hose length. So that underlying spline that controls your hose length when you do a flexible hose, if you have a component that moves, like a cylinder, hydraulic cylinder, your hose length would sometimes change. Well, now you can lock the hose length so it'll actually tighten or loosen based on that component movement and really allow for some nice functionality. And you can actually lock hose length and spline length as needed. Some other Inventor ideas. So we've added additional information when you choose browser information. So here you'll see a bunch of offset and thickness features in the browser. Well, if you don't take the time to name features, now it'll automatically add some additional description, so it's easier to locate, find, and edit these downstream. For the assembly constraints with the insert constraint, it adds a concentric and coincident mate. Now you have a nice icon where you can simply lock, and it locks rotation as well. So again, just one less operation that you have to jump through in order to really kind of lock down some of your assembly motion. One of the things that users sometimes got frustrated with was these axial constraints and being able to kind of flip the mate on the fly. And now we have the ability to do that just with these opposed, align, and undirected options inside of those axial constraints. Let's take a look again at some of these, just because sometimes I think seeing them in action really helps define what we've done here. So the first thing we'll take a look at is the lock hose length. So again, this is not uncommon. You've got your hydraulic hoses in here. So we're going to go in and we're actually going to define the hose length and we're going to lock it. So now you just have this parametric dimension value. We'll set to 800. And you'll notice how the spline changes and flexes based on the length that it is. So we'll lock both of these. So again, you know you're going to buy standard length hose. So now when these are done and we move this assembly, you'll see that the hoses either stretch or kind of stretch or loosen based on the set hose length. So here's that constraint, that insert constraint now with the lock icon. So obviously when we're putting the tire on the rim, you want to lock that rotation. It's just simply an icon now in the dialog, and it locks that rotation. Now when we do these axial constraints here, now we have the opposed, aligned, and you can see it is simply flipping, and then we can simply lock that in. So let's go ahead and just do one final constraint, which is just a standard one we've had, just to lock that in place. So again, these types of enhancements are really about saving users time, incremental time in mouse clicks throughout your design process. And those are really where, as they add up over time, we really want our users to really see these updates saving them time and effort on a daily basis. From more of I guess an administrative standpoint, we've added this migrate custom settings tool. So if you've done a lot of work to customize your application options, your user interface, other things, and then every time you install Inventor, you have to do a fair amount of rework. You could always export your options as an XML file and save those and bring them across versions. But now you have this migrate custom settings. It takes a look at your settings from prior releases and just migrates them over into 2019. Now, the first time you launch 2019, it'll bring up this dialog. Don't worry if you said no or you didn't do it. You can always go back and execute this command later on if you do want to migrate these. So administrators now have additional control over these initial options and their deployments and how they set those up for their users. Another request we've gotten just from an accessibility standpoint is a lot of the customization that people wanted to do with their colors. So there was kind of this backdoor way that you could edit colors and color schemes, and what we really found is we needed to make it much more accessible and available for customers. So we now have this color schema editor, and it allows users to access this directly from the application options under the color tab, and all your customizations are saved into the application XML file. So again, they can be migrated from version to version. They can be shared across organizations. So if you have anything where you need to adjust your colors based on color blindness or preference, you have the ability to do so and also to distribute them throughout your organization. A lot of these other kind of nice things that we did based on user feedback. So we've had the variable radius helical curve before, but it was very it was more complex than it needed to be, right? You had to do a lot from a formula standpoint. Now you just define height and pitch. Graphically, you have the ability to select this geometry and define it either in just a simple, almost spreadsheet-like graph on the dialog, or out of the graphic area, you can actually just drag the glyphs and resize as needed. We have the ability to add an inverted fillet now. Again, we had users request to do a negative value on a fillet. Most developers are not big fans of negative value. So we worked with customers to really understand what the ask was. And now we have this great ability just to add a negative value fillet, either for a manufacturing clearance, or if you're going to replicate things even like in a woodworking situation with like a router edge, you now have the ability just to do a negative, an inverted fillet on those either convex or concave edges. We've added some additional options inside of the direct editing command. So now when you select like a slot or any type of cutout, instead of moving the entire shape, now you can blend that geometry and really helps with some very complex geometry that you might be looking to define or edit directly. So again, here's some highlights of some of those. Just some overall part modeling. So the first thing we'll take a look at here with this direct editing, we'll turn off automatic blending, and you'll see it moves that single face, which is great. With automatic blending, I can actually grab and move the entire slot. Let's take a look at something a bit more complex. Without automatic blending on, there's going to be some challenges because you have a lot of fillets and blends at the bottom and the sides of that. Now, with automatic blending turned on, you can see you can move that face and automatically handles all of the blending in with the additional geometry surrounding that face. Here's an example of the inverted fillet. So obviously here, if you're doing it to represent even like a weld bead type geometry, but also another area where it's extremely handy is somewhere like in this area. So historically, this might be something you'd have to do with a swept cut or something like that. But now you can just do that inverted fillet, and it represents kind of a ball end mill, kind of cleaning up that edge, right? So that's kind of the highlights of Autodesk Inventor 2019. I definitely wanted, hope you guys are excited about it as we are here on the Autodesk team. And if you want to get access to it, it should be in your Autodesk account. If it's not there today, it'll definitely be there soon. And we also have you'll get the alerts on the Autodesk desktop app that Inventor 2019 is available. So keep your eyes peeled, either with the desktop app if you have it installed, or log into your Autodesk account and make sure it's available. Again, we're rolling out all of the languages globally as we speak, but many of those versions are available for customers today. With that being said, one of the things I can't echo enough is this ability to really interact directly with the product team here on Inventor. So we have the Inventor feedback community, which gives you access to alpha and beta builds of the software. Really nice interaction with different development projects we're working on with Inventor. By all means, sign up and take a look and interact with us and help kind of get your hands dirty on the software well before it's released. The Inventor Ideas page is just a nice place where you can take a look at what other users are requesting and put your own ideas up there. Vote for other people's ideas and also put your own up there. And just make sure that your feedback and your voice is heard. And it's always nice, especially in the ideas page. We're super transparent about ideas we've accepted and implemented, and you can see an idea come from something that somebody posted to us putting it in the software 6 months later. So something that's very cool and encourage everybody to take part in. So with that, Nigel, let's go ahead and take a look at Q&A. I know that you and Chris had been handling questions throughout the presentation. Are there any specific questions that we want to highlight?
Certainly, certainly. Another good question about some of the shared views. In regards to that URL, does that URL change when the model gets updated in Inventor? How does updating the model and saving new versions, so on and so forth, affect the shared view itself?
I was typing that out, but I'll just answer it. So that URL is static. So it's a unique URL that's published once based on the design that you had. So any comments or markups or anything like that they're all housed inside of that one unique URL. And it's a way to track all of the comments and changes, kind of a threaded conversation. If you make any design changes and you want to publish that would be a new URL with a new set of comments. So it is a geometry updates. If you republish them, would be a new URL, but it also would be a new set of comments and markups as well.
How do the current iLogic improvements work with legacy iLogic assemblies and parts? Can I continue to use those, or is there a change that I need to make?
Yeah, so you can continue to use those. Obviously, it's going to take advantage of the rules you wrote. If you want to take advantage of the new functionality, you'd obviously just have to put those new iLogic rules or new iLogic code into those rules to do the add, delete versus say suppress, unsuppress. So it's still it won't I guess supersede any legacy rules, right? But you need to make sure that if you want to move it forward, you can open up and just edit that rule and add the new functionality.
Can steps or multi-body IPT files be attached to shared views? How would what's the best way to go ahead and share an actual file to somebody else as opposed to just a viewable?
So that's something where Autodesk Drive can be really helpful, because you can actually from within your local machine through Windows Explorer, you can just drag and drop a file into your Autodesk Cloud Storage. Once it's in there, if you go into go online to your Autodesk Drive storage through your browser, you can share that out with different people, right? So if you're looking just for a way to share your design data, Autodesk Drive might be a great option for you.
Loren, do you want to talk a little bit about the beta program as well while we're waiting for these last questions?
Yeah, so the Autodesk feedback community is really a great opportunity if you are interested in taking a look at new development projects we're working on, not only new releases of the software, but a lot of times we'll have projects that aren't necessarily tied to a release, but we're really looking at exploring new areas of functionality and getting customer validation. Model-based definition is a great example of that. That was a project we had that wasn't necessarily tied to any specific release, but it really gave customers a chance to try out this type of project and how they would use it. And it really helped shape the direction of what became the final release product inside of Inventor 2018. So if you are interested, I would definitely encourage you to go ahead and sign up for the Inventor feedback community. And the easiest way to find it is just go to beta.autodesk.com, and you'll have to sign up and then ask for request for a particular project, in this case Inventor. Or Vault, and you get that early access and really direct engagement with the product development organization.
Awesome, great, and I think that should be everything. Loren, thanks for being here. Same with you, Chris, answering the questions on the back end. Noticing you frantically typing responses, so thank you both for being on.
No problem, and again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining, and on behalf of the Inventor team, thank you for being customers, and we always appreciate hearing feedback and working with all of you. So thanks for having us, Nigel, and have a great day.